Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Today I am at the Rusty Pick to try my luck. I have this character that needs to be deleted, but before I do that, they have 2,500 legendary script that I don't want to go to waste. So hopefully I get something fun to use. Either way, I'm going to get a bunch of script for another character. The plan is 25 ranged weapons. So let's just get right into it. Pull number 1 is going to be a mutant short pump action shotgun with faster weapon speed and VATS critical charge. This isn't terrible. If you like shotguns, mutants, it gives you extra damage. It's only 25%, so it's a mid-tier effect. Weapon speed, I actually have used weapon speed on pump action shotguns before, and they do fire a little quicker. It is a little bit noticeable, so it wouldn't be my preferred star, but it isn't a complete throwaway either. And VATS critical charge, you know, getting critical hits sooner is never a bad thing. Next up, we've got a Mutant Slayers handmade with limb damage and +1 agility. Mutant Slayers is specific to super mutants, so I'm not a fan of enemy-specific stuff. Maybe someday they'll change that to be more than 50% to make it somewhat interesting, but since I can get 50% against anything with other effects, I don't know why I would want something that's specific to certain enemies. Limb damage, that's great if you are looking to cripple. Otherwise, it's not super useful. And +1 agility, not crazy useful. I mean, a little bit of extra AP, a little bit of extra stealth, but overall, not really looking for specials on my ranged weapons. Next, we've got Furious Snubnose 44 with VATS hit chance and damage resist while reloading. Furious on something like this is not a really good effect. You want Furious to be on a faster firing thing, and revolvers just aren't that. VATS hit chance is good though. Something like this where you only have 6 ammo capacity, you fire relatively slowly. It's very hard to sneak with, so making every shot count is a good thing. So I think that's a really good effect. Damage resist while reloading, I'm just never a fan of that effect, really. Unless you're playing Berserkers. I mean, if you're playing Berserker, that's actually a good star because that's about the only time you want damage resistance would be when you are not when you're not actively shooting something. Other than that, I don't think it's a very useful effect. Next up, we've got a Exterminator's combat shotgun with VATS hit chance and +1 agility. Now, VATS hit chance is actually my favorite second star on shotguns. They have kind of limited range and accuracy, so anything that can help with that I think is extremely beneficial. +1 agility, I'm not really looking for that on a shotgun. I'd rather have faster reload or reduced AP cost, something like that. +1 agility just isn't super useful, but Exterminators kind of ruins it because it is enemy specific and it's not a very potent enemy, so overall just not something I'm looking for. And number 5 is going to be Executioner's Western Revolver with bullets explode and +1 perception. Geez, I'm getting just specials on my weapons today. That's not something that I really want. But bullets explode, extra damage, plus it's kind of a fun effect, so that's okay. Executioners, it's an okay effect. I mean, once the target gets below 40% health, you're going to do a lot more damage. So overall, it can be good, but generally this is not that exciting of a combination. Next, we've got an Aristocrat's grenade launcher with limb damage and chance to be invisible. Okay, with something like this, it's a launcher weapon, you really want 2-shot. Anytime you have explosive on something like this, or an explosive type weapon like this, you really want it to be 2-shot. Aristocrats, I don't really think it's going to be all that great. Limb damage, you're not looking for that. You're looking for VATS hit chance, maybe critical damage, something like that. And that 3rd star chance to be invisible on a weapon like, well, I don't think that's useful on any weapon, but especially on a weapon like this, I just don't think it's terribly beneficial. So this is a throwaway. Next, we've got a Suppressor's Gauss rifle with weapon speed and reduced AP cost. Okay, suppressors I'm not a fan of. I just don't think it's that great of an effect. Reducing output in theory, you know, making your enemies less dangerous, in theory could be good. And maybe with the combat rebalance, the one that's ongoing, that may be actually pretty necessary, but at the moment, enemies just aren't all that dangerous. The biggest issue with suppressors, honestly, for me, is the duration. 5 seconds just isn't very long. If this was maybe 20 seconds or something like that, maybe it'd be kind of interesting, but at 5 seconds, it just isn't. But weapon speed, AP cost, that's not terrible. Now, this is a charging weapon, so weapon speed isn't super great. It has a, let's see, what's the fire rate? 83. You can actually fire these pretty quickly, and if you're using critical hits, you can actually do pretty decent damage, even if it's not fully charged. So weapon speed is actually okay on something like this. Next, we've got a quad hunting rifle with VATS hit chance and +1 perception. I know there are people that really like quad on stuff like this. I don't. It's not terrible. It's actually not a bad effect. If you do that with, put a perforating magazine for armor penetration, VATS hit chance on hunting rifles I think is very good. It's probably my favorite effect on these weapons. They are kind of buggy in VATS, so that VATS hit chance actually helps with that a lot. So that's actually a really good effect, and +1 perception, maybe a little bit extra accuracy, but this is effectively a 2-star. Next up, we've got a 2-shot pipe revolver, damage while aiming, faster movement speed while aiming. 2-shot on something like, I mean, 2-shot really does affect accuracy. It's just not an effect I tend to like. Maybe if that 2nd star was explosive, I'd like, but it's not. It's damage while aiming. So yeah, 2-shot with damage while aiming, in theory, if you want to manually aim these, that could be a beneficial effect. Faster movement speed while aiming, I don't think, well, actually, it goes with the 2nd star. So the 2nd, 3rd star go together. It's just that 3rd star isn't, I don't think it's really good. I can't think of ever a time when I'm thinking while I'm aiming, I wish I could move faster. It's just something that's never come up. So I don't think that 3rd star is actually any good, but this is, yeah, this is not a very interesting combo. Next, we've got a Troubleshooter's Gatling gun with VATS hit chance, 90% reduced weight. 90% reduced weight is good. That means it'll take up less stash or less space in my stash when I'm waiting to put it in the Scrip machine. VATS hit chance actually could be good. I know there are people that use these at VATS. The AP cost is actually pretty high, so I use these as manually aiming. So that 2nd star isn't any good, for me anyway. And Troubleshooters, it's enemy specific, and I'm not interested in enemy specific. Next up, we've got a Junkie's Radium Rifle with weapon speed and chance to become invisible. 3rd star, I don't think is useful at all. Weapon speed, faster fire rate, that's a good thing. Junkies, if you want to play with addictions, Junkies is actually a good effect. It gives you plus 50% damage. I just think there's better ways to go about that. But for someone, say, if you want to role play, this could actually be a pretty good combination, you know, pretty good prefix and weapon for that kind of role play. But other than that, this isn't really something that excites me. Next, we've got a Zealot's minigun with last round and movement speed while aiming. This is all kinds of terrible. Okay, so damage to Scorched, enemy specific, even though there's a lot of Scorched in the world, so you're gonna run into that enemy quite often, it's still one type of enemy, and I'm just not looking for a 50% bonus against that one kind of enemy. You can see the capacity on this is 500 rounds, so last round is just completely stupid. And faster movement speed while aiming, again, just not a very useful effect. So this is pretty much instant Scrip. Next up, we've got a Mutant's Gatling gun with critical damage, faster movement speed while aiming. I am just getting the worst 3rd stars today. So damage, so Mutants, it's a mid-tier effect, 25% more damage, so that's not terrible. Critical damage, if you're using this at VATS, that's a good effect. You're probably not, so that's not a useful effect at all. And that 3rd star, just garbage. So we are a little over the halfway point. Let's keep this going. We've got a quad 10mm submachine gun with extra critical damage. And again, we are plagued with faster movement speed while aiming. So quadruple ammo capacity is always fun on something like this. Just means you have to reload less frequently. Extra critical damage is also good if you're using it in VATS. Now, something like this has a fairly high AP cost. So there's a decent chance you may play this as a manual aim type weapon. But again, we have faster movement speed while aiming, which I don't think is useful at all. Next, we've got an instigating missile launcher with extra critical damage and faster reload speed. This actually might be good. I don't know. I really haven't used missile launchers much. I know you want 2-shot on something like this typically. However, instigating could be, it actually could be pretty good. Extra critical damage also could be pretty good. Use this as a VATS weapon. And faster reload, I mean, these are, I think you could put a multi-shot barrel on it so you don't have to reload as often, but you're still going to reload this pretty frequently. So faster reload's actually pretty good. This might be one, this actually might be one to play around with. I haven't really used missile launchers much, so this actually might be pretty good. I don't know. I'll have to, I might give this one a try. We are down to the final 10, and we have this Juggernaut's Railway with replenish action points with each kill and chance to become invisible. Okay, chance to become invisible, I don't think is a worthwhile effect at all. Replenish AP with each kill. At the moment, these have a pretty low AP cost, but when the next update comes, it looks like that is going up. So that could actually become a much more worthwhile effect on something like this, especially since they have such high damage. You're going to one-shot a lot of things. So you're going to get AP back in some cases after every shot. So that could actually be pretty good. Juggernauts is a mid-tier effect, so you're going to get 25% more AP. It's not an effect I like all that much, just because if you're in combat and your health starts going down, you're going to do less damage. If you're using that with something like solar armor, it's a lot easier to maintain. But overall, this is probably, well, I shouldn't say probably. This is going in the Scrip machine. Next up, we've got anti-armor black powder blunderbuss with extra bash damage and bonus critical charge. Actually, if you wanted to bash with this, it wouldn't be These have a pretty high base damage, so bashing with them should be okay. I mean, it's not the way I would want to play with it, but if you do want to bash, the damage should be all right. Extra critical charge, always a good thing if you are in that close range where maybe you're close to every other shot, you're doing every third shot, that could be a good thing. And anti-armor is one of my favorite effects. Next, we've got Nocturnal, Salvage the Assaultron Head, VATS hit chance, +1 agility. Well, this is an Assaultron Head, and I think these are quite terrible, so right out of the gate, we have a weapon that I don't want anything to do with. Nocturnal, it's bonus damage half the time, and to me, I categorize that kind of like enemy-specific stuff. I want bonus damage all of the time, not just some of the time or against some of the enemies. So that's just not an effect that I want. VATS hit chance, I think that's a really good effect. +1 agility, just another special on a ranged weapon, which I don't want, on a weapon that I don't want. Next, we've got a 2-shot harpoon gun with limb damage and weapon breaks slower. 2-shot on something like this. I don't know that 2-shot would be my first choice. These aren't terribly accurate, and 2-shot is not going to help with that. Limb damage, I guess you could target limbs and try to cripple stuff. That could be okay. Weapon breaks slower. I honestly haven't used harpoon guns enough to know how quickly they break, so I really don't know if that 3rd star is all that beneficial, but overall, this is just not a combination of effects that interest me. Next, we've got Executioner's Black Powder Blunderbuss with bullets explode and faster reload speed. This is actually a very good weapon. So Executioner's is, once the enemy's damage gets, or once their health gets below that 40% level, you're going to do a ton more damage, especially on something like this. Bullets explode, extra explosive damage is a good thing, and reload speed. I pretty much won't use these unless I get faster reload speed because they don't reload all that quickly. So overall, this is actually a really good weapon. We have 5 left, so number 5 is going to be a Troubleshooter's Broadsider, damage while aiming, chance to become invisible. Troubleshooters, I mean, basically you want 2-shot on something like this. So this is pretty much a throwaway, but Troubleshooters, no. Damage while aiming, if you want to manual aim that, that's a good effect. So that's the only good effect on this weapon is the damage while aiming. Other than that, this is a throwaway. Next, we've got a bloodied single-action revolver with last round and damage resist while reloading. At least it's not quad last round. Last round, I'm just not a fan of on anything that shoots. Basically, if you shoot more than 1 shot, I'm just not a fan of last round. And even then, it's only a 25% chance to have bonus damage. And I'm just not into the percent chance to do a thing on weapons. Damage resist while reloading. That's actually, if you're playing Berserker, although if you're doing that, why are you using bloodied? So yeah, overall, I mean, the reloads do take a long time, so extra resistance while reloading is okay in theory, but in practice, I don't think it's going to be all that useful unless you're just playing Berserker, and if you're doing that, you shouldn't be using bloodied. So yeah, overall, this is just garbage. 3 down. Quad Enclave Plasma Pistol with damage while aiming and bonus VATS critical charge. Okay, that 2nd star is a out of VATS effect, and that 3rd star is an in VATS effect, so just that alone makes it not worth using, so I'm just gonna move on. Next, we've got an Assassin's Light Machine Gun, damage while aiming, weapon breaks slower. Weapon breaks slower is okay, although I don't recall these really breaking all that quickly, so I don't think that's a crazy good effect. Damage while aiming, that tends to be how I use this weapon. I tend to use it as a manual aim rather than a VATS weapon or a hipfire weapon, so that's actually an okay effect, but then we have Assassins, which basically makes it useless. All right, the very last weapon we've got is Furious Dragon with limb damage and chance to become invisible. Okay, Furious on something like this is just horrible. Furious you want with a fast firing weapon, and this is the complete opposite of that. This fires 1 shot, followed by an extremely long reload. So, and not only that, but this has very high damage, and you're going to 1-shot most things. So most of the time, Furious is gonna do 0. So it's just not an effect you want on something like this. Limb damage, not really useful on something like this. This is a kill weapon. This is a 1-shot kill weapon. So limb damage is just not useful. And chance to become invisible. This is a very loud weapon. So just becoming invisible after being very loud isn't going to help you at all. So this is 3 terrible effects all put together. So that's how we're going out, is this three terrible effects on a weapon. But we did end up with actually a couple of good ones, or at least 1 good one and 1 possibly good one. So this is the one that I know is good, this Executioner's Black Powder Blunderbuss with bullets explode and reload speed. This is definitely, this is actually a really good weapon. I like this a lot. And this missile launcher, I'm not sure if this is good or not. To me, this seems like it could be, But it is something I want to try out. Instigating with something that has really high damage to just make this even more potent. Critical damage, because I would probably use this as a VATS weapon, would be really good as well. And faster reload speed, because you're going to reload this fairly frequently. So that's actually, in theory, this could actually be really good. But I am looking forward to testing it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit one of the buttons. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.